You wake up every day with that bitter taste in your mouth, that dry cough in the first minute out of bed, that tight feeling in your chest before you even take your first step. Before the coffee, before the shower, before anything else, the ritual comes. The hand reaches for the pack, the lighter clicks. The first drag of the day goes in deep, and for a few seconds it feels like the world settles into place. But you know it's not true. You know, deep down, that every one of those drags is taking minutes, hours, days from your life. And the worst part is that a lot of people listening to me right now are exactly at that point, wanting to quit, knowing they need to quit, but with no one beside them saying it's possible. This doesn't have to keep going like this. I'm a physician with almost 20 years of clinical practice, and over these years I've taken care of hundreds of people who came into my office with the same story, the same shame, the same exhaustion, the same desire to turn the page. And today I want to talk to you in a very honest way about how to quit smoking even when no one is by your side to help you. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to walk you through the 5 pillars of a practical protocol based on scientific evidence and decades of clinical work. And the third pillar is the one that makes the difference between people who try and people who actually succeed. But before we go on, I need to be honest with you. Quitting smoking is one of the hardest decisions a human being can make. Nicotine is one of the most addictive substances out there, more addictive than many hard drugs. So my commitment to you here is medical truth, not easy talk. I'm not going to tell you it's simple, because it isn't. But I'll show you the path that actually works, even for people who are going through this alone. Let me tell you about James. 62 years old, retired carpenter, born in Dayton, Ohio, divorced for the past 8 years, living alone in a small apartment downtown. He walked into my office on a Wednesday morning with the cough of someone who had smoked for 32 straight years, 2 packs a day. He sat down in the chair, looked at me and said, "Doc, I've tried to quit about 8 times. Last time I made it 12 days. Then I came home, I heard how quiet the apartment was, and the cigarette called me. I don't have anyone at home to hold me up." That sentence stayed with me, because it reveals something that science has only recently begun to truly understand. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a biological factor that raises the risk of relapse. Researchers at the University of Chicago published a study in the journal Health Psychology, showing that people who try to quit smoking without social support have nearly twice the risk of going back to smoking in the first 4 weeks. It's not weakness, it's biology. And that's exactly why the protocol I'm about to share with you was designed for people who are on this journey alone. Not for someone with a whole family pushing them along, but for someone who decided, in the silence of their own bedroom, that this is going to be the last time. The first pillar is the definitive decision with a marked date. Now look, this sounds simple, but it's where almost everyone gets it wrong. Most people decide to quit tomorrow, on Monday, next year. And that vagueness is the poison of the whole process. The brain needs a date, written down, marked, real. Researchers at the University of Oxford analyzed data from more than 700,000 quit attempts and reached a conclusion that changed the way I guide my patients. People who set a specific date, within a window of up to 2 weeks, are 3 times more likely to stay smoke-free after 6 months than those who decide to cut down little by little. Think about that. Cutting down little by little is like trying to cross a river by jumping from stone to stone. Each stone is a negotiation with the addiction, and every negotiation weakens the decision. A marked date works like a doorway. Before the doorway, you still smoke. After the doorway, you don't smoke anymore. There's no middle ground. Pick a date within the next 7 to 14 days. Write that date on a piece of paper, stick it on the fridge, on the bathroom door, on the mirror. From that day on, you're no longer a smoker. You're someone who quit smoking. And here's a detail many people overlook. In the days leading up to that date, prepare the ground. Throw out every cigarette, every lighter, every ashtray. Wash the clothes that smell like smoke. Clean the car. I know it sounds like overkill, but let me show you why this matters so much. The second pillar is breaking the environmental triggers. Nicotine addiction stands on 2 legs. One is chemical, the other is behavioral. The chemical part, your brain processes in about 72 hours. After that, the nicotine is already out of your system. But the behavioral part is sneakier. It lives in the morning coffee you always had with a cigarette. It lives on the porch where you used to smoke. It lives on your drive to work. It lives in that moment right after lunch. Each one of those moments is a trigger, and the brain, after years of repeating the same ritual, has built a neural highway connecting that situation to the act of smoking. Think about a dirt road that's been driven over by the same wheels for decades. You can't erase the road overnight, but you can take a different route. That's exactly what you need to do in the first few weeks. Change your routine on purpose. If you always drank your morning coffee on the porch with a cigarette, drink it in the kitchen, standing up, reading something. If you always smoked right after lunch, get up and start cleaning the dishes immediately. If you always smoked when you woke up, start the day with a cold glass of water and a 5-minute walk around the house. Every detour weakens the old highway and starts building a new one. And speaking of support, let me ask you something before we move on. If this information is helping you, if you're recognizing yourself in what I'm telling you, here's what I ask. Click the like button down below. That small gesture helps this video reach other people who are trying to quit smoking on their own, with no one to pull them through. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now and turn on the bell. And tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. I love seeing where this community is growing. Now we get to the pillar I consider the most important, the third pillar, the 4-minute strategy. Pay attention here because this is one of the pieces of knowledge that helps my patients the most in practice. The craving, that unbearable urge to smoke that grips your chest and feels like it will never go away, has a feature almost no one tells you about. It's short. Neuroscientists who study chemical dependence have shown, in studies published in journals like Nicotine and Tobacco Research, that the peak of a craving lasts between 3 and 5 minutes. Not 2 hours, not the whole afternoon, between 3 and 5 minutes. Notice that detail. All you need to do is get across 4 minutes, not the rest of your life. 4 minutes. So how do you get across 4 minutes? With immediate physical action. The second the craving shows up, you stand up. You go to the sink, turn on the faucet, and drink a big glass of cold water, slowly. Then you walk, even if it's just down the hallway, 3 laps, 4 laps. If you have fruit, bite into an apple. If you have tea, put the water on to boil. Physical activity, even minimal, redirects the brain's chemistry. The dopamine that nicotine would deliver starts being released from other sources. In plain English, your body is an intelligent machine. It learns fast. Every craving you beat without a cigarette is a victory logged in your nervous system. And the more victories you stack up, the weaker the cravings get next time. Margaret, 54 years old, a seamstress in Charleston, South Carolina, widow, mother of 3 grown children, walked into my office with that classic story. She'd been smoking for 36 years. She had tried to quit twice without success. When I taught her the 4-minute strategy, she looked at me skeptically. She went home, and in the first week she called me 3 times, saying she was about to give up. But she kept going. She came back to the office at the end of the 2nd month and said, "Doc, it's incredible. Now I feel the craving coming. I look at the clock, I put the kettle on, and by the time I notice the craving is gone, I beat something that felt bigger than me." And that's where the 4th pillar comes in. The 4th pillar is supported pharmacological treatment. Now, I need to be very honest here. There's a culture out there that thinks quitting smoking is just a matter of willpower, that using nicotine patches or gum is quote-unquote weakness, that it's quote, trading one drug for another. That's a dangerous myth, and it costs lives. And it's exactly the point where many people give up before they even start. Nicotine replacement therapy, in patch, gum, or lozenge form, does something simple and revolutionary. It delivers controlled, gradually decreasing doses of nicotine to your body without the thousands of other toxic compounds in a cigarette. The tar, the carbon monoxide, the carcinogens, all of that stays out. And the brain, receiving nicotine in a steady way, doesn't go through the peaks and valleys that fire off the most violent cravings. Studies published in the Cochrane Review, one of the most respected sources of evidence-based medicine, have shown that nicotine replacement therapy can increase the chance of success by 50 to 70% compared to people who try to quit on willpower alone. 50 to 70%. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between making it and not making it. And the good news is that in the United States, there are programs that can help. You can call the National Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW, talk to your primary care doctor, or check your insurance, which often covers smoking cessation programs and medications. Even living alone, you don't actually have to be alone in this. There are also medications like bupropion and varenicline, which act on specific brain receptors and reduce the urge to smoke. But these require a doctor's prescription and follow-up. Please don't try them on your own. Talk to your physician or the nearest health clinic. And the 5th pillar, which ties together everything we've covered so far, is the 1-day-at-a-time philosophy. This pillar sounds simple, but it's what holds the whole protocol together over the long term. When someone tells me, "I'll never be able to have a coffee without a cigarette again," I know that person is looking in the wrong direction. They're looking at the rest of their life. And here's the point almost no one talks about. Quitting smoking isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily decision, renewed every morning when you wake up. You don't have to commit to the rest of your life. You have to commit to today. Just today. Think with me here. If I asked you to run a full marathon right now, you'd say it's impossible. But if I asked you to take 100 steps, you'd do it. And then another 100, and another 100. Every smoke-free day is a set of 100 steps. By the end of the week, you've walked 700. By the end of the month, 3,000. By the end of the year, 36,000. The marathon happens without you even noticing. And here I need to share with you something that hurts me as a doctor. What hurts me most isn't when a patient comes in with their lungs already compromised, with emphysema settled in, with a scan showing dark spots. What hurts me most is when a patient tells me, eyes down, "Doc, I always wanted to quit, but I thought I wasn't capable." That sentence haunts me, because in the vast majority of cases, the person was absolutely capable. They were just missing the right method and the courage to try one more time. And that's why I'm here today, talking with you, to tell you that you are capable, even alone, even with no one at home, even with all the times you've tried before. James, that retired carpenter I told you about at the beginning, came back to my office 10 months after that first visit. He had lost a little weight, his skin looked better, the cough was gone. He sat down in the chair, smiled at me, and said, "Doc, it feels like something shifted on the inside. I wake up in the morning, I take a deep breath, and the air actually comes in. I didn't know breathing could feel this good." That man, who had tried 8 times, made it on the 9th. Alone, in the silence of his apartment, following the protocol, one day at a time. Let's recap what we covered today. The first pillar is the definitive decision with a marked date within the next 7 to 14 days. No vagueness, no cutting down little by little. The second pillar is breaking the environmental triggers, changing your routine on purpose in the places and moments where you always smoked. The third pillar is the 4-minute strategy, writing out each craving with immediate physical action, remembering that it doesn't last long. The fourth pillar is supported pharmacological treatment, patch, gum, or prescribed medication, with no guilt, no shame, because the science backs it up and help is available. And the fifth pillar is the one day at a time philosophy, renewing the decision every morning without committing to the rest of your life. And one last thing that needs to stay with you. Take care of your sleep and your body during this process. Poor sleep increases irritability and cravings. Moving your body, even just a short daily walk, releases dopamine and endorphins, the same substances that nicotine hijacked. Movement is your quiet ally. If you saw yourself in this story, if you're thinking about quitting, or if you know someone who is, share this video right now. Send it to that brother who always says he's going to quit and never does. Send it to that friend who lives alone and is too embarrassed to ask for help. Send it to that neighbor you see every morning smoking by the window. You might be the missing piece in their decision. And in the next video, I'm going to walk you through what happens inside your body in the first 24 hours, in the first 7 days, in the first weeks after the last cigarette is put out. I'll show you the silent transformations that nobody tells you about, and the surprising speed at which the body starts to heal itself. You're going to be amazed at what your system can rebuild. You won't want to miss it. Take care of your lungs. They're the window through which life enters you, and you deserve to breathe deep again.